Good evening and welcome. This is our Tuesday, May 17, 2016 edition of the Government News Brief. In the news this evening, National Housing Profile to better address housing needs. Minister Patterson says drainage and cleanup results are obvious, and more being done in the quest to produce better athletes. These and other stories when the news returns. Thank you for staying with us. Here are the details. The widespread cleaning and drainage rehabilitation program has proven effective thus far, as we hear in this report. Despite the onset of the May-June rains, flooding in the capital city of Georgetown and along the coast has thus far been non-existent. A clear indication, Minister of Public Infrastructure David Patterson says that the massive drainage rehabilitation and cleaning program launched as soon as government took office has paid off.
Obviously, there's still some areas which we have to look at, but I'm obviously quite pleased to see that the work that was done, the hard work by ourselves, Ministry of Communities, City Council, and the residents is contributing to the lack of flooding at the moment.
The minister is calling on all stakeholders, especially the public, to play their part.
I want to encourage everybody to continue doing their bit, and hopefully this will be a thing in the past. Next year, if we keep working, we have to keep building on it. It's not just clearing, but new outfalls, rehabilitation, and those things like that. But we've made a start, so I'm pleased at that.
Government had embarked on the rehabilitation of the drainage infrastructure as one of its priorities after taking office, and has spent billions of dollars on works in the city and along the coastal regions to prevent and alleviate flooding. Paul McAdam, Government News Brief. Steps are being taken to ensure that Guyana produces international athletes. Find out how in this report.
For athletes to do well, they must have adequate infrastructure in place to complement their skills. Against this background, Minister within the Ministry of Education Nicolette Henry says the Ground Enhancement Project will provide a much-needed platform for athletes.
We have to, one, ensure that we have the facilities where they can be trained. And you know how athletics is done these days. It's not just running, around a park as would have done many, many years ago. And in some cases, we're still there. So we have to make the type of investment in the infrastructure to ensure that the athletes have the facilities where they can be trained in similar environment as to where they would actually go to compete.
Minister Henry pointed out the need for investment in coaches and access to both training and facilities for training, which will play a critical role in ensuring that Guyanese athletes perform well.
It must be done through a strategic approach, and not until you are able to satisfy those prerequisites and requirements would you be in a position to speak about athletes going. It's one thing to go, it's another thing to come back having performed well. And so in order to perform well, you have to be well trained.
Minister Henry pointed out that sports should be used to develop young people. Hence, government will invest heavily in sports by merging it with academic aimed at producing well-rounded young people. For the Government News Brief, Isaiah Braffett.
National Housing Profile will improve government's capacity to provide responses to the housing sector's needs. Tiffany Rodius has more.
Minister of Communities Ronald Balkan says that he is disappointed with his ministry's delivery in housing solutions. The minister is, however, optimistic that this will change with the completion of the National Housing Profile.
We have not been able to accelerate the delivery of housing solutions as much as I would have liked the ministry to have done. However, we have gone a far way in identifying the framework, and we have the housing profile. The completion of a housing profile is in its advanced stages, an activity that has been supported by the UNDP. It will provide all of the baseline data to identify where is the greatest need and where our infrastructural development, what should be the focus of our infrastructural development.
Mr. Balkan says that the housing profile will lead to informed policy formation and clear priority actions in the housing sector.
So, in conjunction with the ministry, the framework for the housing program, strategy, as well as the program, will be clearly identified during the course of this year that will allow us to accelerate that delivery deficiency that I would have alluded to.
The coalition government has advocated for the holistic development of communities as opposed to random allocation of house lots. It has also made clear its intention to address issues such as affordability, adequacy of housing, and infrastructural deficiencies. For the Government News Brief, I'm Tiffany Rogers.
Agricultural diversification will be boosted. 10,000 acres to be cultivated. Kodaki Amsterdam tells us how.
10,000 acres of corn and soya are about to be cultivated at Ibini as Guyana moves to diversify its agricultural sector, says Minister of Agriculture Noel Holder.
New Frontier Agriculture Guyana Incorporated is currently in the intermediate savannas in the Kimbia area, commencing the development of approximately 10,000 acres of land for soybean, corn, and cattle. And they are actually in place right now, and they should be putting in the first crop.
Moving cultivation inward is aimed at minimizing crop loss due to flooding, Minister Holder says.
Ghana therefore has to look in the medium to long term in moving its agricultural base from the coastline into the interior, where the higher ground is.
Finance Minister Winston Jordan points to the need for diversification in the agricultural sector.
With proper maintenance, with proper modernization, proper use of technology and so on, diversification and so on, these industries can still be good for quite a number of years in the future. And importantly, two of them are agriculture based, and agriculture can absorb labor faster than many other industries.
The soya and corn farm will be used as a model for agricultural development in the intermediate savannas. For Government's News Brief, I am Kodaki Amsterdam.
Emergency safety plan on stream for Jubilee Park. Renata LaFleur has that story.
The CDC, in partnership with other stakeholders, has developed a mass casualty plan to ensure citizens' safety during the Jubilee celebrations. Acting Director General of CDC, Kester Craig, explains.
In preparation for Golden Jubilee, and particularly the response mechanism at the Durban Park, we have continued our level of preparedness, and we have started with several coordinating meetings with all our key stakeholders to identify roles and responsibilities, to identify resources, gaps, and challenges. And we've also developed a mass casualty plan. And that plan is the main plan that will be implemented in response to any event that occurs.
Senior Superintendent of the Guyana Police Force, Whitney Backus, says the force is prepared for emergencies.
We'll be having ranks on the ground on the perimeter of Durban Park. We'll be having ranks at the entrances leading into that beautiful venue that has been prepared for the event. And generally, our posture would be one that would ensure that in the event of anything that warrants our involvement, that we are there to react in a manner that would ensure the safety and security of persons.
The Guyana Fire Service also has resources to deal with any emergency during the celebration, says Divisional Officer Compton Sparman.
We will ensure that we have two set of crews standing by. One, we have a suppression crew in the event of a fire, and the other will have a rescue crew. If there is such an emergency to exist, the crews dealing with rescue will respond, because most likely we're thinking about a collapse, God forbid, or if we have a collapse of structure, they will have a lot of injuries and so on. So we have equipment, resources to deal with that.
The Ministry of Public Health, Help and Shelter, and Davis Memorial Hospital are among other stakeholders on board. CDC's hotline telephone numbers are 226-1114, 226-1117, 600-7500, and 623-1700. Renata LaFleur for the Government News Brief.
This has been another edition of the Government News Brief. The details of these and other stories can be found on GINA's website. We encourage you to subscribe to our website and YouTube channel. You can also like and follow us on Facebook to be updated as the news unfolds. Remember, it is 9 days to go as we count down to our Independence Jubilee celebrations. Do join us again tomorrow evening for another edition of the Government News Brief. Thank you for watching. Have a great night.